Hi guys, so on today's video we're going to be looking at how can you improve your finances, how can you improve the way that you take care of your finances. Let's say you're at the stage whereby you are really wanting to be serious about how you take care of your finances and you just want to know a few things on how can you start. If you want to know more about that, please stay tuned. Hi guys, welcome to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Nxumalo. I do hope that you stick around by clicking that red subscribe button on the bottom. Also, don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up because it will help for YouTube to push my videos for more people to see, and I will also appreciate it. So as I said, on today's video, we're going to be looking at how can you improve on your finances. This is something for someone who is at that stage whereby they really feel like they don't have a handle in how they take care of their finances, or they are not happy and they want to start improving on their finances. But let me just say this at the beginning of this video, because this video is going to come as if, you know, I'm sounding like I'm an expert. I'm not an expert. I'm just Jennifer on the block. And so this is me sharing my own insights, my own experience, and also the things that I've done. And so not by any means am I a financial advisor. Go and look for a professional financial advisor. I'm not one, but I will share the things that I've done or things that I think that they can help you, but don't take this as financial advice. So with that out of the way, let us get into it. I think the first thing that you have to do if you really want to be on top of your finances is to start understanding where your money is going. So I'm assuming that maybe you don't budget, maybe you don't really take time to investigate where your money is going. So the first thing that you would want to do is to actually just sit down and look at where your money is going. Because many of us, if we don't budget, if we don't take the time to actually plan for our finances, chances are there are certain things that take in our accounts without us knowing. So when I was younger and I was in high school, my mother, when she was still banking with Standard Bank. However, during that time, she had a lot of problems that there were so many things that were taking out of her account. But some of the things she knew, but some she didn't know. There were just these random things that will come and take in her account, about 99 Rand, 98 Rand. Now, in Standard Bank during that time, I don't know if they've changed. During that time, they did not report anything below 100 Rands. So if there was a debit order that came out for less than 100 Rands, it would not actually report, like in terms of an SMS to notify you. And so there were a lot of those that actually took in a month that were just taking 60 Rands, 99 Rands, 98 Rands. And every time she would go to a bank to find out what is going on, what are these things that are taking in my account, how do they have access to my account, because as far as I know, I didn't give them my account number. And Standard Bank will say, no, we don't know how it ended, how it happened. However, you can actually, do a reverse. I don't know how many times my mother had to do reverse at Standard Bank. And this also happened to me when I was a student. My first bank account was Standard Bank because it was the only bank that we had on campus. And so I had the bank account and I used it. I think I used it for like a few years until I stopped. Actually, I think I used it until I had a lot of problems, and then I decided to close it. And my problems that I had were similar to my mother, that there were so many things that were taken on my account without me knowing. I don't know how it happened with Standard Bank that there would just be these random companies that you don't know that will just come and take money from your account. And every time you do reverse, do know that they charge you for that. So you're not going to get the exact money. They will charge you a percentage of that. And so it's like you are just wasting money. And it's just said that a bank cannot protect you as a consumer, or basically as their customer. And so I would say that the first thing to do is just take time to know where your money is going, currently. So maybe take your past 3 months bank statements. I'm not one to tell you to take my statements for 6 months. That's just excessive. You can take 3 months, understand where your money has been going in the last 3 months. Most banks, they will give you a free bank statement for the last 3 months. And so look at that and then analyze where your money has been going. Just check if there hasn't been any fishy things in your account. Now, for me, I don't do this because I've always known where my money is going. However, also another thing is I budget to the T. So most people, they will budget and just leave, some monies and what. Me, even the money that I'm leaving, I've budgeted for it. Even if I may not have a big category or a specific thing that I want to do. So let's say it'll be money for the weekly allowances. That's me budgeting for that money. And so I budget to the T. And so I know by the time I get paid, like I'm going to get paid soon. By the time I get paid, I'll pay for everything. I'll move monies to this account, move money to here, save money here, send money on stock files, and then I'll be left with just money for the weeks. And then what I do is I then move all of that money. Anything that, and when I know that, okay, there are not deductions that are going to happen between the time until the end of the month, I will move that money into my other savings account within my bank account. And now, when you come into my bank account, if you are a thief, it'll come across as if I have zero balance. And so that's how I also try to protect myself, by making sure that I just don't leave money hanging. If I'm going to leave money hanging in my account, maybe it'll be like 100 rands, but it rarely happens. So what then I will do is, as I go through the weeks and I need to use this money, I just transfer it to my transactional account, I use it. And so this allows me to track every cent that I have in my bank account. And so maybe you want to start creating systems of how you actually manage your money. How do you track your money? How do you make sure that you understand where all your money is going? The second one is budget. Now that you know that in the past 3 months, this is where your money has been going, now you need to start budgeting. You can go ahead and create categories here. I was reading the book. I'm currently reading the book by Nicolette Mashule, and she breaks it down on how can you categorize your budget, like have categories. I thought that it was just too much for me. I just want to know, what are my expenses, what are my savings, and what is my weekly allowance. For me, that is very simple. I don't want entertainment category. I don't want this, because it's just too much. However, if you are that person that wants to have category, because that system also can work if you understand it and you have time for it. So do that. Sit time and actually plan on where your money is going to go going forward. So as soon as you know how much you're going to be getting paid that month, sit down and actually plan for it. Sit down and say, okay, for savings this month, this is how much I'm going to save. For stock files this month, this is how much I'm going to send out. And then my expenses, what do they look like? Now, most of us, we have standardized expenses that we know that in the past 3 months, this is what we've been paying for. They don't change. Now, take all of those, list them down, and just write them out. I do this because it allows me to understand to always have a full view of my expenses, So you want to write all your expenses out, even the ones that are always the same. It just helps to know that, okay, this is how much of the expenses that I have. I've heard people saying, I budget, however, I never go back to it. For me, I feel like a point of a budget is to tell you where your money must go. But then if you get paid and then you don't go back to your budgets and make sure that it's actually going to where you said it must go, how do you know that it actually went to where it must go? How do you know that you paid for everything? And so that is why I don't like digital planning. But if it works for you, if a digital budget works for you on a month-to-month basis, then good, if it really works for you. But then I will say this. If you do a budget beginning of the month and then you get paid and then you don't go back to it to make sure that you actually stick to it, then your budget is just as useless. A budget is not for you to be fancy and just take time to write it out. A budget is not about that. A budget is supposed to be functional. It's supposed to provide function in your life, in your finances. And so you need to, when you set it up and then when you get paid, go back to it and actually make sure that the things that you've set there, you try to do, it's the best of your ability, So I would say that if it's possible, write out your budget. Get yourself a journal, get yourself something that you know that every month you will write on this. The third point is, if you want to take control of your finances, that start personalizing your personal finances. Sounds weird, but I'm gonna say this. You know, there was a time I got a comment regarding my multiple bank accounts and how I'm like, do I understand that I'm getting charged for all those things? And my response was, it is personal finance for a reason. It works for me. I have personalized it to myself. Or it was also regarding me writing out my budgets in a book instead of doing a digital budget like the one from Old Mutual. You know, that one would be easier. That's what I was told. However, that's what works for you. What works for me is to write it out. And so what I've done is, over the years, is whenever I'm learning financial education, I will take it in, and then I will sit down, not even sit down, that sounds dramatic. I will then, as I go on with my life, with my days, is I will then digest it and find ways of how can I actually personalize this information and make sure that it works for me. And so my response was, I have personalized it. It's called personal finance for a reason. It's supposed to be personal. It's supposed to be something that works for you, not because Usbanbani is doing it and now you want to do it and you don't even take time to find out if really this will work for you. If you're a person that likes digital planning and it works for you, stick to that. If you're a person that likes to write out your things and it works for you, stick to that. And so make sure that everything that you do when it comes to your finances, you personalize it. So if you want to be on top of your finances, to actually be better with managing your finances, start personalizing your finances. It's personal finance for a reason. Apply it to yourself. Make sure that it makes sense to you. Make sure that it's applicable to you before you adopt it in your life. The fourth point is, be clear about your financial goals. Now, I've done this as well, where if something comes, I'm there. If I heard that there's some investment going on, I'm there. Like, you don't even take time to think, do I really need this investment? Am I going to afford this investment or not? But you find yourself in there, you know, things like not simple things, but things like buying property. You will go and you buy property because your friends are buying property. Is that something that you really, really want? Was that really your goal? You know, and so what I'll say is, fourth point is, just be clear about your financial goals, because your financial goals will kind of drive you in terms of how you manage your finances. How do you save? How do you budget? How do you do all these important things relating to your finances? Because you are clear about your financial goals. And so if investment opportunities come, and in your financial goals, it is very clear that you are not at that stage of actually investing in such products, you will not be bothered, because you know that your goal right now is to deal with debt. You know right now that you have so much debt and you want to minimize it. And so you will focus on that. And then when you get to a stage whereby you're now ready to invest, you will be clear about what type of products that you want to invest in, what type of things that you want to do. For me, when I still had a lot of debt, I was paying for debt, I was trying to invest. And as I was busy doing that, I found that I was not moving in both of these places, because as much as I was trying to push the investments, because that's what everyone around me was doing, and I was also trying to push for my debts were going down very slowly, because I was spreading myself too thin, and I did not have clear financial goals. I did not have clear goals that, okay, these are my priorities, and I'm going to focus on this by all means. And so what I then did was I just took time to actually think, what is more important to me right now? It is to pay off my debt. It is to limit my debt as much as possible, because if I can do that, I can free up so much of my money that when it's time for me to invest, I will have so much that I can be able to invest. And so that is what I did for a couple of years, for like 3 years. That has been just my goal. especially since I started my current position. That has been my goals. The day that I started my job, I actually told myself that I'm going to deal with my debts, and that is what I did rigorously. Like, I just focused my attention on doing that. Now that I'm done with most of my debts, now it's time for me to now start thinking, what are my other goals? Now my other goals are still not like in going into investing that much, because I also understand me investing that much but not having an emergency fund. Well, what will be the point? Me investing that much when I have these big goals of building, what will be the point? And so you need to actually make sure that your financial goals are clear. So once I've met these current financial goals, where I've built up a next egg of my emergency fund, I've actually built up a fund for building, and we've actually done it, then I can say that my attention now goes into investing. And when I do that, my attention will be going there, such that even my resources will be going there, and they will not be competing with a lot of things. And so be clear about your financial goals. And then the last thing is spend what you have, spend what you earn. This was a challenge of mine for a long time because I had credit cards. Now, there's this thing that just because you have a credit card, then there's money in there. There's this thing in my mind that I felt like it was money that I could just use. And so even though I would budget and say, this is money that I'm going to be using for, I will budget until my money weight must go, because I budgeted all the way up to zero. Whenever I found myself running out of cash, I would tap into my credit cards to use that. I'll just give you a short story, last story, I promise. This time around, after I closed my FNB credit card, the only thing that I'm left with is my money. So, as you know, guys, that I do my weekly allocation. So this time around, well, that's how I budgeted, like every month, my weekly allocations, this. However, I ended up spending a lot of money. And now I realized when I was at the shops that, oh my gosh, I'm actually running out of money, and I still have another week to go before I get paid. And I still wanted to buy more stuff. And not like stuff, like I just wanted to buy more groceries. And for me, I panic whenever I still have like 2 weeks and then I don't have money, or I have 1 week and then I don't have like money, because I never want to be in that position, because it worries me that, okay, if something comes, am I going to be able to deal with that, And so I'm at the shops and I'm thinking, oh my God, I don't have money anymore. And then I was like, oh, if I had my credit card, I would have just used it now. Now that has been me for a very long time. Now you see, as much as I'm budgeting, I'm telling my money where it must go, and I was clear about my plans, But certain things will happen that I found myself using the money that was not mine. So what I'm saying here is, we are human. Obviously we are human, and we do these things, And so I spent money that was not mine. And so every month I found myself having to pay that money back, because it was not mine. I used something that is not mine, so I have to pay it back. And so what I'm trying to say in this point is, by all means, try. I know that this is hard when you have things like credit cards in your life. If you have a credit card right now, you will know that it's so easy to tap into it if you want something. Let's say someone is at the petrol station and for some reason they don't have money in their other cards. They will actually use their credit card to actually pay for the petrol. Now that's money that is not yours. And so when you are budgeting, just try to make sure that you create room to avoid such things. And also, if it's possible, rather put more money in your credit card. If you are one of those people that don't want to close your credit card, you want to then you don't want to close off your credit card. However, you want to keep it. To avoid being in such instances, rather pay more into your credit card, so that when such instances come, you will be using your money. You'll be using the positive balance instead of the bank's money. That one is better. But for me, I struggled with this for a long time. That's why I decided to close my credit card, and I don't feel bad about it. I feel very good, but it will happen if you have such things, that you'll find yourself spending money that is not yours. So you want to try by all means to spend money that is totally yours, because this will allow you to live within your means. So those are the points that I wanted to touch on today's video. I hope that they were insightful. I know there were a lot of stories, but I feel like some of the stories, they just, they make the point sink in. And so I hope that it was helpful, educational to a certain extent, but also remember, this is not financial advice. This is just me sharing my journey and my stories. And so don't take it as financial advice, but rather take it as just information regarding personal finance that you can either take or not, something that you can digest and figure out if it will be useful in your life or not, And so with that being said, until I see you on the next one, please take care and stay safe. Bye.